Hello, I don't hear you. Oh, sorry, I can't hear you. I'm sure it's my computer because it's old. Uh, can't hear you. Hold on. Um,
Is that working?
oh, there you are.
Hi. Okay, yeah, I don't know what's going on, but we'll try the headphones. How are you?
Has been kind of dicey, so I'm working on that too. I'm good.
Good. Yeah, I want to apologize. So typically, when I try to connect with someone, I automatically send them to Tracy, and I didn't do that with you. And it's completely my fault. I just got super busy with events and our email. Here's a free tip for you. Don't put any bit.ly links in your email, or it gets marked as suspicious spam, and none of your emails go through to people. Yeah, we found out. I was like, I have not been getting any emails this week. What's going on? Yeah, so little business hiccup there, but I'm so glad to be connecting with you. And I actually read the message that you had sent a while back when we were first going to connect, just about kind of what's going on in your life and your business. And I'm really excited to learn more about you and what you've got going on. You obviously have great self-awareness, like I had said in my reply to you, but tell me all the things that that feel important to bring to the table. I'm excited to just get to know more about you, and then if it makes sense for us to look at how I might be able to help you in some of those areas, I'll absolutely share that with you as well later on. But for now, I'd just like to enjoy getting to know you a little better.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, Damali loves you and has said just amazing things. And
I love her too.
Yeah, she's a delight. I'm so excited to have someone like her come into my life. And we just met at this photo conference, and excuse me, and it's been very nice because she's connected us with, there's sort of five of us who really kind of connected there. And it's nice. We've been trying to sort of help each other afterwards. And the other part is that we're all in different phases. Obviously, Damali's like, what, 31? I'm 50. So we're all in different phases of life as well as business. But I've actually been a photographer for a very long time. My kids, I have twins, they're 18. And sort of that has not been, I've had a business, but it's not been something I've really tried to grow or really change. It's just been kind of a nice sort of steady income, say around $40,000 a year. But even with expenses, I tend to seem to only, I mean, expenses are kind of a gray area, but I only seem to sort of bring home 20-ish thousand dollars, which is great, has been the nice fluff of our income. But now that they are older, I'm kind of ready to be more serious. And also, like, I've just been doing this Megan DePiro video series, and like, you know, it's all about knowing your numbers, and I'm like, I have no idea what my numbers are. So I realize I've just been kind of winging it, and you know, I've been making money, but I have not had any sort of business plan really to speak of. I did increase my prices probably 2 years ago after my last Sue Bryce encounter. And that was good. I mean, I raised my sales sort of 30%. They could still go higher now because we'll get into all that, but the whole digital image thing, and I could raise them again. And then I also kind of want to shift more into, I'm sure Damali's talked to you about sort of the Sue Bryce look and style. Here in Des Moines, I've kind of been all over the place. I started as a food and still life photographer, so even shooting people was a new thing for me. But I shot weddings, I've shot kids. My friends were having babies when we had babies, and it was a natural segue, and I've loved it. Family, seniors, whatever, weddings. I've stopped doing weddings though. About 5 years ago, my parents are divorced, but started with my stepmom, and we lost like everybody within 2 years. And I just stopped sort of wanting to do weddings to plan my life 2 years in advance. And I got out of it. And I love it. I love the weddings. I just hate that it's the planning. I would still, I'd do the 6-month wedding. That's my ideal, that's my ideal bride. But that doesn't really happen very often. So I have a nice referral basis, and that's what my business has been, is referral. And now, like, just since we've come back from this conference, like, I've been rounding up some friends to shoot sort of more in the studio and to get back in the studio and really work on lighting again. And I loved that. I mean, I loved that when I was a food and still life photographer, and it's been fun to do it again. I feel like I want to refine it. I'm not there yet, but just to the last month of doing, say, 5 shoots has just felt really good to get back and sort of, because it's what I loved about the food and still life. I love the control. Perfect.
What kind of, let me just, I just want to know a little bit more about what kind of photography. Like, I loved how you just lit up talking about like it was being fun again. Where do you see yourself going creatively with your art?
I mean, I think back to the portraits and back to the studio. I think that, like, that would be the creative part. I think the business is still going to be outside roaming around fields with seniors and babies, but babies too. I mean, it's funny. I started with babies doing the more studio lit back sort of baby parts, and I brought my lights into their houses. And so, I mean, that I can sort of do again.
So outdoor shoots is more of your bread and butter right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix because a lot of times I want to come in and out, but yes, I'd say seniors. And then there's this place called Lake Okoboji, which is in Northwest Iowa. My father-in-law's from there. Not so much now, but when our kids were little, I'd spend big chunks of time up there in the summer, and I've developed a nice base of families up there. Those are always like the multi-generational, like Christmas card on the dock. Nothing super creative, but it's fun. I love growing up with these families. I mean, that's the connection I really enjoy, is that, every year there's a new grandkid, or, everybody's getting bigger, and or they're getting married. So it's like that I really have enjoyed. And that's another piece that I've done less and less because my kids have wanted to work here in the summer, but I've been maintaining sort of my repeat business, the people who come back and call me. Unfortunately, like this summer, I tore my hamstring and I had to cancel like 2 weeks of work. So I didn't really get to do that this summer, but because 4th of July is always sort of when they're up there. So depending on what happens with our kids, I mean, that's another piece that I haven't advertised up there for 5 years. So that's another piece that I could definitely make more money. There's a ton of money up there. To expand, but that's not going to be the creative. It's fun. So, I mean, everything looks good, but that's all outdoor, and that's all sort of multi-generational portraiture. I think creative.
Do you like having the lots of different, like the variety of subject matter and locations? Does that feel good for you?
It does. I mean, I love getting it back into the studio part, but I don't think that I don't have to do that all the time. It's funny. I don't know if it was Damali or somebody, we were saying like, if you could summarize what you do in one word. And I was like, because I'm all over the genres. I said, well, it would be milestones, whether it's a newborn baby or grandma celebrating her grandkids or a female celebrating her 50th birthday, it's all milestones. But the style part can be kind of different. And that's where I sort of struggle. I hate social media. It's not a comfort zone for me. It's funny. I've been teasing Damali, like she's got us doing Marco Polo. And like the first time I did it, I'm like, I've never actually done a video before. Like, you totally get me outside my comfort zone. But then of course, by next week we're like, hi, blah, 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 So I also need to I know that's a big part. I need to make time for growing my business, because it being a referral, and Des Moines is a small community, and that, you know, people see it, they tell their friends, they show their friends. I mean, it really works. But whenever I start actually consistently posting, I get work. So I know it works.
Yeah. So why do you like, we'll get into specifics about what your business goals are, but why is it that you like, what's the reason behind you wanting to grow your business?
Well, my kids have started college. I feel like I haven't been creative. I feel like now I have this opportunity, since I don't have, I would love to make more money, but I don't have to make more money. I would like to make more money, but I would love to be able to turn this into more a creative side of like, and I think it's these portraits, you know, but like to say you want a portrait by me. I mean, I still get that they want a portrait by me, like say the seniors, because they say your photos don't look like everybody else's pictures. So I already have that. So it's like, that's what I want to take, but into the studio. And, you know, oh, I want a portrait by Carolyn, you know, and it's not the like, you know, Sears mugshot. It's something that has connection and feels like the person. Because my only problem with the Sue Bryce model is that I'm not here to take people and make them not look like themselves. I want them to still be themselves, and I want to show the best part of themselves. And, you know, for somebody that might be a ball gown, and for somebody it's jeans and a t-shirt. So, you know, I want it to be authentic. So, but that's what I want to develop, because like when I've been in the studio, I've been so happy, and just get excited because, you know, you get that energy and you know that you're pleasing someone and making someone else happy. And that's what I hear over and over from people, especially say the senior boys. I don't know why I get to see a lot of senior boys this year, but that, you know, I make them comfortable and they dreaded it, but they actually had a good time, you know. So that's what I'd like to continue to give, but to do it more one-on-one or generational. I don't want them to be boring portraits though. Like that's what I feel like some of that stuff is so boring, you know, like trying to be serious. And it's like, but if that's not who they are, that's not the connection. So anyway, I got to work on that.
Well, well, no, that's really, I just want to validate you there that your desire to create in that way, there is a very high demand for that. And it's transformational for people to go through that. Like, I mean, I've worked actually with a number of photographers now. It's and it's something because I've had the experience of, like, I tell this story about how a picture I had of my husband and I during a maternity shoot, like that picture saved my life. And it's because I saw the picture and it was us, it was our family, and we were kind of dressed up. It was a little bit more, it wasn't like my everyday yoga pants and, you know, messy bun. Like we did get dressed up.
Your best self.
Right, it was. But I actually, there was some complications during my delivery where I almost died. I obviously didn't. The baby, my 9-month-old is a miracle and perfect and healthy and all of that. But I ended up on 3 operating tables that day. Oh my goodness. And that picture, like there were moments where I was like, this hurt, like everything hurt. And that picture kept flashing in my head. And I was like, I want that more. Like I will not give up. Like that picture in my head of seeing our family, like before Jackson was born, he was still in my belly at the time. But for me, like I'm very passionate about the work that photographers do in the world. And so you describing, like, I want them to look like them, like their best selves of them or the best sides of them. But I just really want to validate to you, like how powerful and important that is. So to give yourself permission to bring more of that into the world, because it's powerful and it can just be fun and silly. And, you know, it might not always be as dramatic as, for example, that picture I have of myself that like was that level. But it has the potential for that. So I wanted to share that with you so that you can really like borrow my belief in how valuable and important it is if you don't have it for yourself yet.
Thank you. Well, on the other side of that is that, I have lost my parents, and I realized this a year ago that like, I don't have any professional photos of myself. And this always makes me cry too, but of myself with either one of my parents. I have beautiful photos I've taken of each of them. I have beautiful photos of my mom with my kids, but I don't have any with me. And, what a gift that would have been. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, I have plenty of memories, I got a lot of stuff, but just, I am a photographer, to have that picture. And, so that's another where I feel like, because I truly believe it, that I want to encourage people to do those generational photos, to do the mommy and me, to do like a picture with your mom. And one friend, of course, like, she's like, oh, you want them to have their obituary photo. And I'm like, well, not that so much. But if that's where you're going to go with it, okay. So
you can be morbid about it if you must, but
yes. So that's another place that I feel, and I just turned 50. So I've got these sort of 3 places that I could definitely be growing and do it in a real way without, I'm not selling out. I believe those things. So I just don't know how to do it. And the whole business thing, again, that's where I'm a wreck. I dislike social media, so I don't do it well. When I do it, it does work. But I know but then I fizzle because I get distracted over here. My kids are older now, but like my son, he's still living with us. So I still have some jobs, some responsibility. But I have more mental space to work on this.
Yeah,
as well.
I bet. I mean, I'm on the other side of I'm on the other side of the mom journey, where that was one of the biggest unexpected things. When I came home from the hospital, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even have my brain to myself anymore. And it's been a beautiful journey, and I'm really grateful to be on it. And it's been a learning curve to balance, getting me time and making sure that like I have healthy boundaries and emotional boundaries even, and still being there for my family. So I completely understand what you're saying about, it's almost like probably feels like you have more bandwidth, and I'm excited to hear you looking at doing something that you're passionate about and that you love and that you're good at and that adds value to the world. Specific around, like you mentioned, that the business side feels really overwhelming to you. Is that because, tell me more about what feels overwhelming to you, or what scares you?
I don't know if it's just because I have no experience with it. Hold on, I'm just deleting this so I can actually move. I don't know if it's just because I don't have experience doing it or was taught. Definitely wasn't taught, but because when I started as a food and still life, I had an in-house photography job, which I loved. I loved my job. I lived in New York. We were there for 9 years. I loved my job because I got to be with a creative team every single day, art directors, designers, prop stylists, food stylists. I loved it. So being a sole business owner, that's always I've struggled with being alone. And that's why I'm so jazzed about the Portrait Masters, because, to tap into this community of women who want to share the love, and, whether it's the teeny tiniest question or like the big questions, has been fantastic. And I'm really grateful that that's happening, because that's been really a joy. But the business, I just don't like it. It doesn't hold my attention.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the editing, mind numbing.
And this is important to know too, because listen, there are things, I've been in business for myself for, coming up on like 14 years now. And I've done everything from owned an in-person studio with, training other coaches and mentoring other businesses, while I had a team of like 15 people, and it's like the payroll and the marketing and I actually ended up going to business school after I went into business for myself, because I realized, oh crap, I can't just be good at what I do. I have to actually know how to run a business. And that's the thing I'm hearing you talk about, is I just want to do what I'm good at doing. And I wish the business pieces didn't need so much from me because it doesn't feel fun or easy. Does that sound about right?
Yes. By doing this recent Megan DePiro class, I got all excited though, because it made sense where you sort of, if you add up all the numbers and you plug in a salary and then you divide by, you know, how many weeks of work you want, like you get this magic number. And I was like, oh, okay. Like that makes sense. Like that's a number you work off of, and you either adjust how much you want to work or you adjust, you know, how much you want to make, you know, or like how you increase your sales. And, you know, those things actually was very eye-opening.
Yeah. Well, it's
so I can get excited about that, I think. And it's
when things make sense, it does. Yeah. When things make sense, it does make them less scary and overwhelming. So there's typically I talk about like there's 3 ways that we relate to or that we create change in our life. One is when sometimes we just need information. And honestly, like there's so much information out there. You can usually find that for free. You can usually get it from somewhere. It's about, you know, just making sure that you trust the source of the information. The second way that people get stuck or that they need help is, so there's information and then there's transformation. So that means something inside of you shifts. So you're like, oh, I've been avoiding this thing because X, Y, and Z reason, and you get to the root cause of it. And then you're like, oh, I can change my relationship with this. I'm no longer scared of it. And then the third process where I see a lot of, especially working with entrepreneurs, how I do, sometimes it's just a convenience thing that needs to happen. So it's the concept of like, do, delegate, or delete it. Like, so you figure out which things do you just need to know a little bit more, and maybe they won't bother you so much. Which business items do you need to maybe, is it just you need to transform your relationship with that piece of your business? And then the other part would be, where do you just need some convenience? What things should you just delegate? Maybe because if they suck your soul dry, or they just like take you hours and hours and hours, and it could take somebody else 20 minutes to do, quality of life type thing, right? Right there.
I feel like first 2, but and it is, I guess, pretty much transformation too, but I feel like it's almost in every area. Like, you know, I know how to use studio lights, but I've gotten rusty on sort of how to use them in this very beautiful way that I want to use them. So I don't have confidence in it. So that's why I've been sort of practicing with safe people. And that I want to get good at before I start, you know, shouting that I can do this. And then there's like the backbone of like the not even social media, but like my promotional materials, my pricing, you know, like that I really need to hone in on again too, and revisit and like know my numbers, like know how much this canvas costs. So, and so that I can speak confidently. And then there's the whole in-person sales, which I don't really even do. I'm still like showing a gallery and then meeting them afterwards, which I know is losing money. But again, it's been a convenience. And also because I don't want to talk to them, that it's easier to slap a gallery online and then meet them. And also just, again, laziness, not figuring out how to do kind of a digital reveal, which I could do. And then also the retouching. I was farming out my retouching, but then it seemed like I was losing a lot of money on that. So then I bought this course to try and learn it, and it's making my head hurt, but I know that's just, I have to do it, and then I will get it. So I feel like I'm in this education mode right now of like, I want to learn lighting, I want to learn business, I want to learn retouching, and I've got all these classes online, and, and it's, you know, and keep working. I mean, I almost feel like I want to have like a month, like just want to like go to my online school here and read. But the in-person selling is definitely a weak point. And it's more, I guess, a fear factor. But I was also never really taught how to do it. I can sell what I love, but it's that, you know, like even yesterday, so somebody, she's a friend of a friend, you know, she wants a session with her dog and her husband, you know, and she doesn't really want to pay for the full session. So she asked me if I have a mini session. I said, well, I do have a mini session. It's usually for branding headshot and, you know, this price includes, 2 images. And so she's like, well, we're going to want more images. So like, could we get like 5 images or 6 images? And I was like, okay, well, like, see, I really don't do mini sessions because I only really do them for branding. And, otherwise it really bumps you up to this full session and this is the cost. And, she just kept kind of like, I mean, I get it. She doesn't want the whole session, but she doesn't want the mini session. And, normally I'd be like, well, since you're her friend, like, let's just do it. Oh, I don't know, $100, but I kind of stuck to it. It was like, well, let me think about this. And, like, I'll try and get back to you. Like, I'd love to work. I'd love to help you because you're a friend of Jen's, but, I have to kind of come up with a custom package for you. And then I got off the phone thinking like, well, that was slightly better than just giving in. But I didn't have that dollar amount in my head of like, what would 10 images cost,
Yeah. So now tell me, do you have a dollar amount like for 2020? Like, do you have like a goal of what you would like your business to do money wise?
Well, that's what I've been thinking of. I've never had that kind of goal. And I thought, well, okay, like let's come up with like 75,000 was my number that I thought seemed feasible. I haven't quite finished that worksheet yet, but sort of or somewhere between 50 and 75. I mean, the other thing too is that I don't want to suddenly work, 5 shoot sessions every day of the week. And I mean, that's not my goal here either.
Well, that was my next question is how many shoots a month, let's say, would you like to do? What would feel good for you?
I mean, 2 a week feels very fine. I like the idea of talking with this other girl, Mary, who has young kids. So she's trying to sort of group them up. So she's got, like 4 a day for 3 days in a row, and then hires sort of staff for that time period. And that is very appealing if you could schedule that all, because that's very cost effective than if you're hiring like, a makeup artist like for a full day or 2 days and an assistant, because then it's not like that, $70 for one face. You would get more out of it. So that's kind of a loose goal, but in the meantime, I kind of schedule people here and there.
Yeah. And that 75K, is that what you'd like your business to do, or is that what you would like to take home?
Take home.
Okay. So I call that your
I could go that being like a 50 to 75, I guess. I'd be fine with
Listen,
that.
You're allowed to dream big. I'm not going to talk you into a lower number goal for yourself. And here's why, is because I love big goals. I actually teach good, better, best. So like your good goal might be 50, your better goal might be 60, your best might be 75. I'm just making this up for you right now to highlight. But if you have that good goal, but go after your best goal, you're that much more, it's like, well, of course you're going to hit your good goal. You're going after this big thing, and you get to celebrate when you hit your good goal. You get to be excited if you hit your better goal, and you get to be like, like super excited if you do hit your best goal, but you're not a failure if you don't hit your best goal.
Right.
So it's okay to dream big when you're around me.
Okay.
So time wise, what are your average price? What would you say is your average session price point at this point?
Well, in that 1,000 to 2,000 range.
Okay.
Session fee is $300, but I'm really trying to switch it around. That's worked just fine because it kind of works more of a deposit. And then, packages start at 800, and but I would say that was that shift, is that I went from being that my people spent around 800 to being way more spend at like 1,200 to 2,000. And I was giving away too much, and I'm still giving away too much. So that was my big shift 2 years ago, was to stop kind of giving away so many digitals. But I'm still giving away too much. Because that's the other problem with having all these repeat people. Because they were used to it. So, and that's education. And I know Sue Bryce talks about that all the time, but is that, educating them why I've changed my pricing structure.
Yeah.
And I just haven't done it.
I mean, listen, I get it. Like when I went, like I said, this is, I think 14 years ago, when I went into business for myself, it was, I was making good money, I thought, but I wasn't taking home as much as I wanted. And when I sat down with a CFO, a money person, and this was in the beginning of my going through business school, and a good friend of mine, actually, she's a CFO for a multi like billion-dollar international company. So she was like, I can do this for you in 5 seconds. Like, let me help you. And we figured out I was making $4 an hour.
Right.
And, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, okay, now I get it in a different way. And, you know, over the years, as I've expanded and evolved, and obviously my prices have gone up over time, I've been coaching for 22 years. So it's one of those things where I get when I've also had some clients that have worked with me on and off for 8 years, 9 years, not because they didn't hit their goals or because they're stuck in the Bethany vortex, but because as I improve, and then they come back and they're like, oh, I need more of what you have. And, you know, and I get how the relationship, there's a boundary setting process when you have those long-term relationships, so you can communicate in a very loving way. It's also your business, your rules. So you can honor those like grandfathered in clients if you choose to. But there are ways to have those conversations so that everybody feels good and you don't get resentful and you don't get stuck giving your gifts away, and then not also enjoying the goals that you set for yourself. I just ran the numbers. So let's say your profit margin, just for easy math, was, let's say your business did 150,000. That would just by bumping your average session sale up to $1,500 per session. That's 100 sessions a year, which is about 2 a week with 2 weeks off, which again, I'm just doing easy math, easy numbers. It might be like, you know, a random week where you do 25 shoots, like when you go somewhere, you know, so there's so many ways you could structure that. But that's so doable.
Right.
And it sounds like it matches not only your money goals, because that would definitely be 50 to 75 take home out of that. And it also sounds like the time commitment that would be really in line with what you want.
Yeah. I mean,
so
I
when
think biggest, you know, like stepping back from all the details, it's like, I know that I am the biggest obstacle in all of this, and I think that the conference has been good, getting me going and much more energized, but it's you know, it's me. It's either I'm not good enough or I'm not interested today, or, you know, it just feels like too much. And I have been feeling a little like it's too much because I'm taking on everything, but also I'm kind of happy about that. But, you know, I touched briefly on it. It's like, you know, with my kids, my son is still here, and that, again, it's much easier, but it's been very hard couple of years where my business took a back seat for sure, totally in coast mode. And I'm happy to be bringing it back up, but it's also like, you know, how quickly do I bring it back up, and sort of what my steps are, I guess, realistically.
Yeah. So there's a couple other questions I wanna ask you, because I actually I'm not sure how much Damali, or like, I know you guys have talked about me, but I don't know what was said, so I'm gonna assume that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
But my focus, like obviously, like I work with my primary client. The majority of my clients are entrepreneurs, and we always end up talking business, dialing in their strategies. Like I have modules and courses on like, okay, new business owner, here's where we're going to look at your time. We're going to look at your systems. We're going to look at like your mindset. We're going to look at all the numbers. We're going to do all the things. But that is all secondary, because I focus on personal development in order to get you professional results. So it's like the strategy is important. It's like 20%, and it's a really important 20%. But your energy, your mindset, how you feel about yourself, like what you just said about like, as soon as I was like, all right, now we're getting to the good stuff. where, and I don't mean that I'm glad that you struggle with feeling not good enough, but that's the real thing. Like if you don't deal with that, you can have the best marketing plan. You can have the best packages and pricing all figured out. You can have, like you can study how to have those sales conversations. And if you're not also developing the feeling good enough piece, none of that will matter.
Right.
So that's actually, my first degree is in sports medicine, by the way. So I am really focused on making sure that we're taking care of your body. So my clients tend to get a lot healthier when they work with me, like their body improves. We connect how your body is working, how you're taking your self-care, which everything I do gets customized to you. So it's not like mandatory massages if that's not what self-care is to you. It might be mandatory, like go play with lights in your studio time. It might be going for a walk in nature, whatever that is for you. Eventually we would figure that out. And then so we connect your body, we look at your mind and your emotions, and then your relationship dynamics. And I teach that there's 5 primary relationships: your relationship with yourself, with your intimate partner, with your inner circle. So this might be family, sometimes families and outer circles, depending. But inner circle is like the people that you choose to connect with. Usually, not necessarily all the time, but deeply. Outer circle is more acquaintances. This is like social media friends, other work colleagues, and then your relationship with money. And so we look at developing your relationship skills in all of these areas so that we bring them together so that you can hold on to the success that you're bringing into your life. Because when they're like this, imagine like water coming out of a faucet. Good things can happen, but they just kind of keep slipping through. So I'm very thorough and comprehensive in how I support people. And I'm curious what obstacles you see for yourself. Like you recognize not feeling good enough or having things feel like they're too much. I know you said you feel like you have more spaciousness with your kids being gone and you're excited to explore getting creative and developing your business skills a little bit, it sounds like, as well as developing your photographer skills. With, like you said, the lighting and the posing and in the studio stuff, and feeling a little rusty with that.
Well, there's a lot there.
Yeah, I'm like, I feel really excited about this. I'm like, oh my God, this is exactly the kind of person I help.
So getting with my son with everything, it's that, I feel like also right now we're also in like the fallout, like, we're not in the crisis mode anymore, which we've been living in for like 2 years. My daughter has gone away to college. That's fabulous. I miss her terribly, but at the same time, it's like, I wanted her to get the hell away from here too, to be able to be free of this and to start living her own life. My husband and I, we've had a very strained relationship. We've gotten better as parents, but there's still so much blame going on right now between us that we rarely talk about. We both blame each other for what happened. My son, he got arrested for having marijuana, and he was supposed to be going to court tomorrow. And then the lawyer just told us like, oh no, he doesn't have to go. We're filing a paper. And I realized I just went like, oh, like I didn't even realize I was sort of carrying it around with me so much today, like until it went away. And even though like we knew exactly what was going to happen and there's going to be no surprises, it was just still this stress. So, and he's feeling nauseous today, no big surprise. So there's that. And that really does play a part in it because, especially last year, like if I started my day total conflict with my son, it would just like spiral my day out of control, where I'd be distracted or not want to do anything, or go do something and be mediocre. And with my husband, I feel like my biggest problem with him is that we don't connect. I mean, there's there's different things. We don't connect about our kids. Like that's a very tough topic where we have different interests. And then, I'm the pursuer and he's not. So, then I get frustrated because I'm the one who's only doing the talking. And then I get pissed off and then he gets pissed off and then I have to be the one who stops getting pissed off because otherwise I'll just stay there. And that just gets old. But like I said, even saying all that, we're still in a better place than we were last year. In terms
Are
of
you
volume.
would you like those relationships to improve? Like, is that something, because it's really important. I'm glad that you said that you guys aren't in crisis. So there's, just as a side note, like my first degree is sports medicine. I'm also an advanced relationship coach. Then I went to business school, and now I'm also like certified in certain energy and like quantum physics type stuff as well. So like I said, it's been 22 years of being a coach, and I've continued to evolve and add to. I have certain trainings in like trauma and PTSD and like different things like that I actually choose not to use. Like I don't work with clients in crisis. That being said, the training that I have really helps me to be super confident in the relationship arena. So like, and the reason that I said how I focus on the personal development for professional results is because what's going on inside of our head, our mind, our body, and our home has the most influence on any business. Like I said, the strategy to me is easy, it's fun, but it's secondary because it doesn't matter. Like you said, if you wake up and you have a conflict and now like it kind of can derail your whole day. Obviously that's going to impact you trusting, can you show up and for yourself and for your clients in a bigger way if you have this going on. So do you feel like when you said that you're no longer in crisis and you're in a better place now, do you feel like you're kind of like, okay, I'm happy if we could just keep it like this, or are those relationships that you would like to improve?
Oh no, they definitely need huge improvement.
And you said you are working with a therapist
Yes.
as well, right?
And it's
Okay.
very funny because things have been a little bit better. And so last time she was kind of like, okay, are you finally, I think we're ready to start working on the, shame portion. I was like, oh, great. It was like, just when you finish one thing.
Oh, goody. Shame. Yay.
Great, shame. Let's talk about it. Which of course was like, good, like, oh, I've graduated. Oh, on to the next thing. Because she also we're sort of recognizing we're out of just kind of like getting through, So yes, I think my husband and I guess the jury's out. I mean, my son's still here, so it's not like we're totally empty nested, but it's still a shift because he's more of a boarder and we're not in charge. So that gives us a lot more freedom. But it's still not sort of alone. So I feel like that whole like, will the marriage sustain is sort of jury's out because we're not quite on our own yet. And certainly with my son, I feel like a lot of this came about because I was not good at holding boundaries and setting them and holding them. And I have so much regret and shame and blame on myself for that. And I'm not over that at all. And that's probably because things aren't, great yet. So I feel like it just happened this weekend. I was totally fine. And then I just started getting bogged down in all the like what ifs and whys and, how comes. And I know, because I've been in therapy enough that that's not going to be productive. And that's just a rabbit hole. But I went right on down, and at least I guess the only self-observing is just to know that that's not going to help. But still didn't stop the feelings. And I'm perimenopausal, and I swear to God, I think part of that is like something in my brain just went like, and made me feel.
Oh, the hormone effect is real. Like it is true.
It was like someone just turned the switch.
Yeah.
I feel terrible. And I have talked to my GP about it, but basically I said, you know, other than maybe taking anti-anxiety, it's not gonna something she can change for a while. So learning.
Well, yeah. So I think it's
and I swim for sanity, and I love physical exercise, and so I know that that's really important, and I've got that part down about 7 years ago. And when I start sort of feeling depressed and not wanting to work out, I know that's exactly when I need to work out. So, and I know how good I feel after I swim, so I just really always hold on to that, and that's what gets me back in the pool.
Good, yeah, because when you move your body and you create that endorphin rush, and it also actually gives an outlet for a lot of the hormones which are going on like throughout menopause. It's and are you getting a weird feedback thing?
Not a feedback, you're just kind of going in and out, but I wonder if that's my internet.
No, I think my headphones might be. It looks like the battery is low. So I'm sorry, I got distracted by like a weird technology thing. But what I'm hearing from you is that you're prioritizing taking care of your body. You're also prioritizing, like you have some support around your relationship, and then like in therapy to look at some of the personal development pieces, the emotional sides of things as well. I would love to share with you how I could complement what you have going on, and also my idea of how we could look at working together to help you hit business goals. And like I said, while also complementing your vision for yourself of stepping into this place of having more free time and wanting to creatively express, and also everything you're describing is really around creating a level of success of something that you can be proud of, in a way, like not just what you're creating to put out into the world, but what you're bringing back into your home with income, and that you're creating that. So are you okay if I kind of share with you some of what that could look like? Okay, so I typically work with people, like I have like one-on-one stuff with me usually starts at $12,000 and goes up from there, but I actually don't even have any openings for that until January. Then I have a couple group programs, but my signature one is the Magic Zone Mentorship, which is what Damali's doing with me. And then I run, like I have workshops and retreats every once in a while that I do. So that's typically how I connect with people. Like I said, I don't have any one-on-one spots open until January. The next round of my mentorship program also doesn't start until January. And I don't have any retreats left for this year. Like everything of that is sold out. So before we got on the call, I wouldn't have gotten on the call with you if I had nothing left. So I have like little pockets of space and time in between from now through the end of the year. I do take Thanksgiving week and Christmas week completely off. But I kind of looked at, I was like, okay, I have space to support the right person in this way. And I have room for two people in a similar way. So I have notes here about what I have available. And based on, let me look up, I'm going to write this down. So I'm basically making up a package for you right now. And side note, this is really easy to do. When you know how to do packages and pricing, like I would be able to teach you.
You were like, I'll bring it back in a day or two.
But no, so I'm just thinking about, like, you really, like, you understand, it sounds like that I'm going to start with, like, who are you as a person? And we're going to be looking at what are the strategies and the business decisions that are actually in alignment for you. So, and this is where I customize everything. So we start with who you are as a person, like what's your energetic blueprint, what's there's 6 main assessments that I do with people around your wealth dynamics, around your cognitive strengths. Like those are things that don't change for your whole life. So as you learn these things about yourself, it's not just for business. And it doesn't change. So it's pretty cool to have access to that. So obviously I would include that for you, and really look at, I think because of what you have going on, like I think some one-on-one calls would be important, but there's also, hold on, I'm just writing down what I think you need, because you don't need everything. Got a lot of stuff going on good in your situation here.
Good is good. Good is good.
Okay. So what I have available for you, because this is not something where you're not going to be like working 80 hours a week and like hustling because you have to pay the bills, and like that's not your approach right now. Correct?
Correct.
Like we're looking at how can you enjoy this expansion?
Well, and to get past myself and what are my reasons, for holding myself up, getting in my own way.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel like if you say yes to coaching that you would show up for it?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Because that's one thing. I am very picky about who I work with. Like I am all for helping support you get out of your own way. And it's also really important to me that the people I work with are willing to implement and take action. Like I said, it doesn't mean you have to work like 80 hours a week and like hustle hard, and like, I'm not into that. I'm all about like finding what feels good and fun. And sometimes it can be scary. Sometimes it can be uncomfortable to do new things, but that's why the accountability and also like showing you how it's done, doing it. This is done with you. It's not done for you, right? Like I can't do it for you, but I can do it with you.
Right. No, and
right?
I think that, yes, no, and I feel like, this is the right time for me to be, like I'm doing all these classes. I went to this conference, like I'm ready to take it to a new level or bring it back, I should say. I don't know, but to be more involved.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah.
And financially. I mean, again, the finances would be great, but it's like, that's not driving this completely. So it's more just like to build a business would be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, and money is part of a healthy business.
Yes.
And it's part of it's actually part of healthy self-worth, and money and love are in the same receiving thing. So as we do some work around your money, everything from packages and pricing, but also, oh, is that number scary to say, or is that offer feel uncomfortable to make? As we look at all of that, it will actually improve how you communicate even in your personal life.
Oh yeah, and I think I definitely have a problem. It waxes and wanes, but with like, spending money to feel better, and absolutely, that is a problem too. And I think that I haven't because I haven't known my numbers to know sort of what they need to be profitable. Also,
yeah, you're guessing right now.
It'll feel better. It'll feel better once I know all those things. Like, oh, you only made $100, or you made $2,000. Like, I want to know those things. So
yeah, and then spending actually becomes really a lot more fun, because you can enjoy spending it when you know you have it, and you're like, oh, this is a healthy celebration of spending money instead of
I have to steal from
what it's been. Yeah.
Oh, I gotta do some transfer.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or where am I gonna go? Yes.
So yeah, so first of all, this is basically the Carolyn special package. So I think from now through the middle of January, I think we could basically do October, November, December, and then the first half of January. which I think at that point, like if you wanted to continue working with me, I think the mentorship program would be fantastic for you because you would get that community experience as well.
Is that what you said Molly does?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And also I think there's a lot of foundational work that if we do that over the next few months, your time in the mentorship program, which you're not like locked into doing it or not, but there is an option for that.
My question for you would be too, do you think, I mean, since I have all this going on with all these classes right now, and I still have a bunch of work I still need to do, whether I should wait and start in January or whether I'd benefit. I mean, I know I have time, but I don't, my emphasis right now is really trying to do all this learning too.
Yeah.
And restructuring. I know that's probably something you'd help me with though.
Yeah, we could basically fast track all of that so that you're not just taking a bunch of information in and then like, okay, now crap, what do I do with all this information? Right? Like we want to build, that's what I mean. Like, it's like the foundational work of, I don't know, like, I just feel like it would be good for us to get like our hands in it, but not in a, like, but like I said, like, this isn't like a $12,000 one-on-one, like, we're going, you know, we're attached at the hip and we're doing everything. Like, it's not, I'm not seeing that that's what you need at this point, but I do think that the connection of, honestly, like what I could bring to the table for you of being like, okay, I get all this personal stuff and I know how to connect it to the business stuff. And yes, that information that you just learned, here's like how the puzzle pieces fit together. So that it could be fun for you and so that you don't have all this information that just ends up on a shelf inside your head or literally on your desktop.
Right. Okay.
Because that we don't need a course graveyard on your computer, right? So I think essentially, like, I'd like to share with you like basically some business onboarding modules, which is like the system really helping you. Again, this isn't just more information. This is like a quick worksheet so that you can have that like, oh, here's the stuff that I'm learning. Like, this is where it goes. So I'll essentially like help you get the foundation of your business set up in a very simplified way with this like collection of tools. So it's going to look at your time, your money, your packages and your pricing, which I think we should do that together. Like, that would be definitely something that we would do on a coaching call. But yeah, the biz bundle. And then I have a workshop in November that I'd like to invite you to attend. And I have what I call my Soulmate Spectrum course, and it's for entrepreneurs. It's the relationship dynamics towards money, but also to apply in your personal life and with clients that I think would really support you with everything you have going on. And so I think between now, like, even if we did one call a month, like a 90-minute call where we get a lot of like, put the pieces in the right place. And then, so if I give you 4 90-minute calls, and then I think like 2 30-minute calls, just as like a quick check-in. And what I would want to do is connect with you on Facebook, mostly because you shared how like you don't like social media, but you feel like you have to do something there. I'd like us to have a private Facebook group where it's just me and you, so that we could make it fun for you. And also so that I can show you and you can practice and it can be a very safe space. I think that would be really valuable to you.
I will say, I mean, not that I won't want to do that, but it's getting easier just with the last month.
Yeah, so I feel like that would put you in a really, really good place to actually step into your 150,000 2020 in a way that feels easy and fun for you. If we're doing this over the next couple, because this is the thing, like January shows up and then people set their goals and then they don't take action on them. And so how does this package sound for you? Does that sound good?
I think so.
Exciting? Yeah, and so typically, like if I sold all of these things or calls, the business bundle, the workshop, the calls, the Soulmate Spectrum course, all of that, if I sold that separately, that would total up, that would be $10,000 if you were to buy them all separately. But if we put them together, and I know that we're going to be working together over the next couple months, I would give that to you for $3,500.
Okay. And then what is the cost of the mentorship if I do that in January?
That is priced at $5,500 for 4 months.
Okay.
And it includes a 2-day retreat with me and all the other ladies as well.
Okay. Yes. So, okay. 4 90-minute calls, 2 30-minute calls, the workshops. And now those workshops, those are passive things. Those are things you've done, or there's things you're going to do.
There are things that I've already done, but that we will use in our coaching time together. So the Facebook group, it will be like in between calls, it might be like, I'll be like, oh, hey, here's a 20-minute video that explains this marketing thing that you had a question about. Or, hey, here's, like, for example, the biz bundle. As you go through those modules, you'll fill out the worksheets and you'll share them with me. And then that means that when we actually get on the phone, I'll have already, like, I'll be like, and here's what your next step is, and here's how, and help you put all the pieces together. Does that make sense?
And what happens in between the phone calls? So I guess we're having 4, so once a month. What happens in between the phone calls?
In between the phone calls, that's where you can ask any questions that come up or any support that you need. You can ask in our private secret Facebook space. Okay. And that's also where, like I really love using the Facebook group because I also, like, that way I can check in on you. So there'll be like weekly accountability, like what were your wins? What are you struggling with? What do you need help with? What actions are you taking? Hey, you said last week that you were gonna, maybe you do your first Facebook Live video, like share it here, or did you do it? How many, if we're in your numbers, it's really whatever you need. You get support through the Facebook group in between our calls. So I'm kind like, I use social media as a way to support my clients. And it's also a way that I know how much we can get done in a 90-minute call. And it's going to take you a couple weeks to be like, okay, and now we're going to go implement all this. Right. And that's the biggest difference between, you can have all this information come in from all the courses you're taking or all this stuff, but if there isn't someone like me being there to be doing it with you and saying, okay, what fears came up, or where did you get stuck, so that you're not stuck. And then those 30-minute phone calls can be like, almost like SOS. Like if you're like, crap, I do need to get on a call with you to hash this out, then we just make that happen.
Okay. That does sound good. I am distracted right now. I just been getting all these texts. Like I actually need to make a phone call about this stinking court thing that was supposed to be tomorrow. So I have to go call the lawyer.
Okay.
So I'm sorry. My mind's going. Yeah, that's what happens. Thankfully, it doesn't happen as much anymore. That does sound great.
Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you take care of calling your lawyer and hand that, and then, I mean, I guess it's kind of hard to feel back into how awesome all this is, but I did write down what I offered you. And if you feel, and if you're like, if you're a hell yes, like, I don't want to pressure you into saying yes right now while you're like, crap, like, I just want to get off the call with this lady. I got to go. Why don't you just reach out to me maybe later this afternoon?
Yes.
And
hopefully in like 20 minutes.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, reach out. And if you can just shoot me a text. And if you want to hop back on the call to go over if you have any questions or anything like that, then we can hop back on the call. I might have my 9-month-old, like my husband's about to leave in a little bit, so I might have him on the call with me, but then you get to meet my little Jackson. But I'm happy to reconnect with you so we can make a decision and get everything sorted out in a way that feels really good for you.
And I made some notes too. So, okay.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'll talk to you in a little bit then. Okay. Bye, Carolyn.